Oh, hi there, Gary. What you doing? You doing some wizard things today?
Weezer.
Oh, right. Weezard.
Yeah, kinda.
You're not throwing fireballs inside, are you? You remember what happened last time?
Yeah. I don't throw fireballs inside anymore.
That's probably a good idea. So, what's on your mind?
Skaggy. What's magic?
But, but you're a Weezard. Don't you know?
Well, I was reading the book you gave me, and it's confusing. It talks a lot about magic, but it doesn't really say what it is.
Oh, I see. Well, that is a big question, and it's a good question too. But I haven't really thought about it in a while. I'd like to give you a good answer. Can I think about it?
Sure, I can go practice my fireball spell.
Maybe you should practice that fire hose spell instead.
Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense.
Okay then. We'll talk more about magic again soon. Have fun. Hi there. I'm Scotty, practicing witch and a professional tarot card. And I'm glad you're here. Hi there, Gary.
Hi,
Who's your friend?
this is Gerald, Giant Slayer, Irritator of Trolls, Origami no Takumi, Chef. But you can call him Gerald. He's a gnome. Can we keep him?
Gary, he's not a puppy. But you're welcome to have friends come over. It's nice to meet you, Gerald.
Det måste jag säga till dem. En av Masters ballfiskmästare i Noah.
Gerald says hello.
Okay, Gary, I think I can give you a reasonable answer to your question about magic. To me, magic is two connected concepts. Magic is something we do, and magic is a thing.
Правильно, назовешь нам.
Oh, it's a noun and a verb.
Yeah, that's a good place to start. Thank you, Gerald.
Malbarban.
Skaji, you spelled magic wrong.
Did I?
Yeah, you put a K in there. It's supposed to be M-A-G-I-C.
Ah, I see. Well, you're not wrong for some spellings of magic. You see, when I was first studying witchy stuff, almost everything I read spelled magic with a C-K. Like this. And there was always a little bit explaining that this spelling came from Aleister Crowley and that he used the K to distinguish what he was talking about from stuff like stage magic. I don't know if Crowley, who we will talk about a bit later, I don't know if Crowley originated the spelling. I wasn't able to find anything really definitive about that. But I liked the K on the end there. It made me feel more magical, and that what I was studying was real and not just tricks. As time went on, I started spelling magic without the C. For one thing, with the CK, it just looked more like that it would be pronounced Magick. So I dropped the C and I kept the K because that way the word was still special to me. But honestly, it doesn't really matter how you spell it, because, you know, it's all about the spell and not the spelling. Now that we've gotten that little detail out of the way, let's talk about the whole magic as a noun and a verb thing. If you ask 10 magic nerds what magic is, you'll get like 20 different answers. So you're not alone, Gary, in trying to figure out what this magic thing is. Magic nerds throughout history have been exploring that too. I think, though, for a good bit of human history, regular folks didn't worry so much about what magic was. Most folks just accepted it was a part of their world and that they could use it to help them out. There are examples of this practical idea of magic from the archaeological record, like the Greek magical papyri, which is a collection of spells, hymns, and rituals. There are also lots of incantation bowls found in the Middle East, which folks would have used to trap evil spirits and keep them out of their house. Apotropaic wands were things folks would use for protection too, and there's a lot more stuff like that, like the witch bottles found in excavated houses in the UK and even in the US. While regular folks were using magic to help them out, there were magic nerds trying to understand it. It seems to me that the earliest ideas about what we'd call magic today came from thinkers in the classical world as they tried to understand the world around them. Nerds all over the world were trying to figure things out. The earliest magical nerds most of us might have heard of were from Greece. Folks like Empedocles, Plato, Aristotle, and others. They were considering natural philosophy, which we recognize today as the origins of science. But their thinking also included ideas which today we would call magic. The word magic seems to come to us originally from the Persian word magos, which may have origins in Proto-Indo-European, from a word meaning to be able or to have power. From the Persian, the word wanders through Greece as magia, and Latin as Magik. We're going to fast forward past the ancient Persians and Greeks, and past that whole Roman Empire bit, and right on into the 9th century of the Common Era. In what we call Iraq today, there lived this dude named Abu Yusuf Yaqub ibn Ishaq al-Sabah al-Kindi. That's a lot. So we're just going to call him Al-Kindi. He was a polymath. That means he knew a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff. He was a nerd's nerd. He's considered by many scholars to be the father of Islamic philosophy. One of his jobs was to translate old Greek texts on philosophy and science into Arabic. And all that reading and copying and translating, combined with Al-Kindi's own epic nerd skills, led him to write his own books. One of those books, De Radiis, discusses his theory about how the energies radiated from the stellar world impact our physical world by properties of those rays, and how those rays interact with one another, and also how things in our physical world radiate their own rays with their own properties, which interact with the rays of other things. He theorized that if a person could understand not only these rays, but their interactions as well, then they could manipulate those energies and interactions to bring about change. Good old Al-Kindi saw magic as something one could do, as well as a natural phenomenon. Oh no. Mana. Mana. Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Let's talk some more about magic.
Okay.
So in the 9th century, a book was written in Arabic called Gayat al-Hakim, The Goal of the Wise. We know this book today by its Latin title, Picatrix, after it was translated from the Arabic in the 13th century. In this work, the author says about magic, "You should know that this science is named magic. We call magic whatever is done by man, by which sense and spirit follow its action in all their parts, or by which marvelous things are done." It goes on later to say, magic is divided into two parts, that is, theoretical and practical. The theoretical part is knowledge of the places of the fixed stars, because from these are composed the celestial figures and forms of the heavens, and how their rays project into the planets that move of themselves, and of understanding figures of the heavens when they wish to make them. The practical part, in turn, is the combination of the three natures with the virtue infused by the fixed stars. You should know also that magic is gained by actions and works in one way, and more subtly in another. In this, we can see some possible influence by the ideas of Al-Kindi, and we can also see a two-part idea of magic. Now let's fast forward a bit into the 16th century, and we'll meet Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa. Good old Agrippa was, and still is, one of the most influential magic nerds ever. His 3 books of occult philosophy, published in 1531, had an influence on just about every magic nerd since, including me, and including you too, even if you don't know it. In his first book of occult philosophy, he writes this about magic. Magic is a faculty of wonderful virtue, full of most high mysteries, containing the most profound contemplation of most secret things, together with the nature, power, qualities, substance, and virtues thereof, as also the knowledge of whole nature, and it doth instruct us concerning the differing and agreement of things amongst themselves, whence it produceth its wonderful effects, by uniting the virtues of things to the application of them one to the other, and to their inferior suitable subjects, joining and knitting them together thoroughly by the powers and virtues of the superior bodies.
Scudgy, his spelling is worse than yours.
Noticed that, did you? Spelling wasn't as standardized back in his day as it is today. Another thing to notice is that Agrippa saw magic both as knowledge and skill, continuing the idea presented in the Picatrix.
Yeah, for Messias is there what I was here, shags in.
Yeah, these guys sure do use lots of words. Just like you, Scudgy.
Hey! But you're not wrong about those other guys. It's not always easy to define stuff that, by its very nature, is more related to the experience of it. But in Switzerland in 1575, a book called the Arbitel de Magia Veterum, or Arbitel on the Magic of the Ancients, was published, which kind of broke the mold of the whole lots of words thing. It's a concise little book which, for its time, was straightforward and easy to understand. It deals primarily with the connections between the human world and the world of spirits. The Arbitel has this to say about magic. Magic is the connection of natural agents and patients, answerable each to the other, wrought by a wise man to bring forth of such effect as are wonderful to those that know not their causes. The art itself is none other than the absolute perfection of natural philosophy. And the art referred to here is the doing of magic. In 1855, Dogma et Ritual de la Haute Magie, or Dogma and Ritual of High Magic, was published by Eliphas Levi, whose mama called him Alphonse Louis Constant. Levi was another really influential magic nerd. His writings heavily influenced the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, and through those wacky kids, just about everything magical today. Furthermore, there exists in nature a force which is immeasurably more powerful than steam, and a single man who is able to adapt and direct it might change thereby the face of the whole world. The present division of our work refers only to the science, but magic, or rather magical power, comprehends two things: a science and a force. Without the force, the science is nothing. What good old Levi is referring to with science is a collection of knowledge and techniques. And the force he mentions is magic as a noun. The most commonly recognized definition of magic can be found in Magic in Theory and Practice, published in 1929 by Aleister Crowley. While Mr. Crowley is a controversial figure in modern occultism, most attempts to define magic either reference, expand on, or try to contradict his definition. Magic is the art and science of causing change to occur in conformity with will. Any required change may be effected by the application of the proper kind and degree of force in the proper manner through the proper medium to the proper object. And that first bit is the part most folks will have seen, but that second part, which comes a bit later in the book, has that noun and verb thing going on. Now I want to give you something to think about. I have this paper airplane that I made earlier. When I made this paper airplane, and when I tossed it across the room, did I just perform magic?
Say, you like when she's written that there, Sam.
Gerald said yes, but there weren't any fireballs or lightning or anything.
And this is why so many folks have tried to adapt or expand on Crowley's definition since then. Dion Fortune, who had been a member of the Golden Dawn and then went on to do her own thing, added a bit in 1930. Magic is the art of causing changes in consciousness in conformity with the will. Writing in 1988, Donald Michael Craig said magic is the art and practice of causing change in accordance with will, using methods not currently accepted by science. Jason Miller, in The Elements of Spellcrafting, defined magic as the science and art of influencing change to occur in conformity with will. In 2002, Christopher Penczak, writing in The Inner Temple of Witchcraft, provided his own definition. While clearly influenced by Crowley, this definition avoids some of the vague notions in that definition. Witches define magic as both an art and as a science. Magic has basic rules and structure, like science. They are not moral codes, but conditions that allow magic to occur. As an art, magic also has a creative individual component, as long as it conforms in some way to the scientific laws of magic. You can vary it to your own individual taste. What strikes me most about all these definitions is that the more recent definitions seem to focus primarily on the doing part.
Skaggy,
Yes, Gary?
this is all kind of neat, but I have a question.
Okay.
What is magic?
Still So kind of foggy, isn't it?
Kinda.
Well, let's talk about magic as a noun and see if that helps. These days, a lot of folks, and not just magic nerds, talk about energy. It's a nice little word, and I do think that magic is an energy. Physics folks talk about different forms of energies, and a simple physics definition of energy is the ability to do work. Now, our physics friends think of different types of energy which they can measure with their sciencey tools. There's thermal energy, chemical energy, mechanical energy, nuclear energy. There's others. I see magic as a form of energy inherent in the nature of the universe itself, but a kind of energy which our sciencey friends can't yet measure. Some folks call this energy spirit. Some might call it chi or prana, od, orgone, ruach. There have been lots of words folks have used over the years for this spiritual energy.
Like Al-Kindi's rays.
Yes, exactly like that, Gary. And as folks have tried to understand that energy, they have developed systems for tapping into it.
A viewing part.
Just so. Cultures, religions, groups, and even individual folks all around the world have developed their own ways of doing magic. Systems are the collection of techniques, rituals, and philosophies which are used to achieve magical goals. Some of these systems are very organized, like those of the Golden Dawn. Others aren't quite that organized. What we might call folk magic is like that. One way of thinking about all those various systems is to ask, why are they doing magic? What was the ultimate goal of the system? There are a couple of words you might hear, Gary, that refer to magical things. Thaumaturgy and theurgy.
Thingamajiggy and what's it?
Thaumaturgy and theurgy. These are Greek-derived words, but they've only been around a couple of hundred years. Thaumaturgy means wonder-working, and theurgy means deity-working. The meanings of these have changed over the years. These days, when folks talk about thaumaturgy, they tend to mean magic that has a day-to-day kind of goal. Theurgy, on the other hand, is often seen as magic done for direct spiritual goals, like communing with deities or spirits, or as a method to seek enlightenment or oneness with the universe itself. And this brings us to another way you might hear people talking about magic: low magic and high magic.
Like magic on the ground and magic in the air? I want to learn a flying spell.
Not like that, Gary, and you should probably wait on the flying spells until you're not afraid of heights.
Oh yeah, good idea.
Low magic is another way of saying that the goals are related to everyday life. Things like health, prosperity and money, or love and relationships. High magic, on the other hand, is more concerned with spiritual goals, theurgy. Some folks consider low magic to be less important than high magic, that spiritual concerns are the most important thing. I do think that spiritual matters are important, but it seems to me that the folks that have said this, at least in the past, are folks that didn't have to worry about where their next meal was coming from. For most folks, though, day-to-day stuff is very important. A lot of what would be called low magic in the past was concerned with crops and livestock, and with health and safety, and with family and relationships, and all of these things are really important things for survival. This is why I don't like using terms like low and high magic when talking about magic.
What about black magic? What kind of magic is that?
Well, Gary, I think that the idea of black and white magic is a false dichotomy. There has been a lot of talk about this over the years. I think it stems from a kind of us versus them mentality. What I do is good, but I don't like that fellow over there, and what he does is bad. But think about a hammer. We can use a hammer to build things, or we can use it to destroy. Either way, it's the same hammer. The difference is how it's used.
So it's the intention that's important?
That's right, Gary. It's not the hammer that's good or bad. It's how the person uses the hammer that's either good or bad. Does all this help answer your question?
A little. But, Scudgy, what's magic?
Well, Gary, that's part of the mystery, isn't it? We can do all kinds of magic without ever knowing what it is. Just that it is. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and they told me they didn't want magic to be explained all nice and neat because it would make magic feel less magical to them. But magic is all around us. It's in the sprouting of flowers in the spring. It's in the raindrops that fall. It's in the laughter of children. It's in the awe we feel when we experience beauty. And it's in all of us.
Even me?
Of course, Gary. All of us. When we do magic, we connect to the magic inside us and all around us. Magic isn't in the definition. It isn't in the explanation. It's in the experience.
Cool.
Thank you so much for spending some of your time with us today. If you've enjoyed that time, please like, subscribe, share, comment. I'm Scudgy.
I'm Gary, and I'm a Weiser.
Where's my...
And that's Gerald.
Safe journey.